Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Weird Sports Podcast for Friday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, of course, to everyone listening. Got an NFL heavy show for you. I mean, what else is new? But I'm the only host on the episode, so let's jump right into it. Los Angeles Rams are in a very interesting position with their quarterback. Matthew Stafford, of course, traded to the Rams from Detroit in 2021. He won a Super Bowl, but he also signed a 4-year, $160 million contract extension, which guarantees him $31 million in 2024 and has some additional payments in subsequent years. So they are looking for a new deal. That is the report. Matthew Stafford wants to stay in Los Angeles. Do the Rams want to pay a 37-year-old Matthew Stafford to continue to be their quarterback? Or do they want to potentially move on, see if there's greener pastures out there? So I think what very much complicates this is, are there any standout quarterbacks in this draft? Do you believe that Sanders or Ward could be the quarterback of the future? Do the Rams believe that? Very unclear. So what was interesting was Colin Cowherd on his show had a proposal, a theory that I want to go over. So I'm going to play that clip right now.
So I am going to propose something. I made a couple of calls yesterday, a couple of texts this morning. Yesterday I was talking to a longtime NFL exec, and he said this is not crazy. The Rams like Matt Stafford, but they're tiring of the constant quarterback talk, his wife saying things publicly. They like him, but they don't want to restructure his deal and give him a big contract. Meanwhile, the Giants do not like the quarterback class, and Brian Daboll, the head coach, and Joe Shane, the GM, have got to win or they'll be fired by Thanksgiving. What the Rams want, I'm told, they want the Giants' first-round pick at number 3. They want to take that pick, move down, and get more picks. Why? So they have extra picks for next year when they have to move up to get a quarterback. So what the Rams will be in the market for if Matt Stafford moves is a 1 to 2 year rental at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers. Hear me out. Aaron needs a rehab. Got a house in Malibu. West Coast guy. Remember, Matt LaFleur's brother is the OC with Sean McVay. Well, he's been in that system before. I believe Aaron is craving infrastructure, stability, a head coach he respects, organizational excellence.
So very interesting. He has Matthew Stafford being traded to the Giants. This will give them a lot of picks in order to move up, not this year, but next year for quarterbacks that they maybe favor more. And in the interim, he suggests that the Rams could get Aaron Rodgers. So obviously Rodgers is coming off a very interesting 2-year stint with the Jets, injured in his very first game, misses the entire first season with a torn Achilles, comes back this year, doesn't play great. Jets don't play great. Jets end up with a losing record. And now it's reported that the Jets and Aaron Rodgers are done. It's over in New York for Rodgers after a disappointing 2-year run for him. I know they did a social media post where they were like, thanks for everything. And people being like, what did he actually do? Which is not much. So do I think that this is possible? Well, certainly the Giants probably are regretting giving Daniel Jones that extension, given that he's not on the team anymore. So you probably regret that as well. That didn't work out whatsoever for the Giants. And the Giants, they've been kind of down the last 10 years with the occasional fluky playoff run in there. So I do think that Matthew Stafford paired with Brian Daboll, that could work out extremely well. I think he could be a very interesting quarterback for the Giants. On the other hand, the Rams, I think that they're a good enough team to still compete. I mean, they're really the only team that gave Philly a run in these playoffs, and Matthew Stafford was a big part of that. So does Sean McVay want to start over with either an unknown entity or a bad backup Sam Darnold, perhaps? Or does he want to take the risk to bring in Aaron Rodgers and the ego and the drama and the Pat McAfee appearances that come with Aaron Rodgers? Is that something that Sean McVay is really interested in? I personally can't see that aspect of it, but I could potentially see them trading for the Giants, getting a lot of picks, drafting someone late to kind of be a project, a maybe we'll see type of a player, or signing, a kind of bridge, maybe even Kirk Cousins, who is also, will be a couple years out from his torn Achilles by then. So, very interesting scenarios. What do we think will happen if you're a Rams fan? I'd love to know. Do you think Matthew Stafford is going to get traded? And do you think the Giants are a realistic place? Or do you think they'll figure out the money situation? It has been reported that the deadline for all of this will be the NFL Combine so that everyone can kind of have their affairs in order moving forward into the next league year. So we'll keep an eye on that as things develop. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Big Ten Network's Ryan Burr reported that the Pittsburgh Steelers are interested in acquiring former first overall pick Trevor Lawrence from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, Lawrence is coming off a season where it was very much derailed by injuries. He had a shoulder injury in week 9 that made him miss 2 games. Then he had that just horrible concussion, which knocked him out of the Jaguars game against the Texans and led to him being on IR for the rest of the season. Why would the Jaguars want to move on from him? Well, Liam Cohen being brought in, initially you would think like, okay, he's being brought in to be a quarterback whisperer to potentially be the guy to help Trevor Lawrence take the next steps to fulfill the potential that we all thought Trevor Lawrence had when he was beating Alabama in that national championship game, leading Clemson to undefeated seasons. He was kind of touted as the next Andrew Luck, the next face of the league. And outside of a division title in 2022, a playoff win and a close loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in that playoffs, and they, of course, would go on to win the Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence has been a disappointment for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last season, 2-8 record, 2,045 yards, 11 touchdowns, 7 picks. And, the Jaguars situation in general, since his rookie season, has been a mess. They had Urban Myers, who was famously fired after going 2-11 during Lawrence's rookie season. He was just not cut out to be a professional coach. Doug Peterson comes in 2022, helps him play some of his best football in the league, throwing for 4,113 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But then things kind of regress the next season. They miss the playoffs. And, given all of that, why would the Steelers want to trade for him? Well, the Steelers want to pursue Lawrence because they're kind of just a quarterback away at this point, right? Since the retirement of Ben Roethlisberger, the Steelers have put out Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, and honestly, none of them have been really that good at all. They have made the playoffs in 2 of the 3 seasons since Roethlisberger retired, but both times they were dispatched rather handily in the first round. The defense is very talented and has carried that unit. TJ Watt, constantly a potential defensive MVP, but it's not getting any younger. Neither is Mike Tomlin. Tomlin started out his career very hot, winning a Super Bowl in his 2nd season, going to another one in his 4th, but he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016, which might kind of be surprising. When I was doing the research for the blog post I did on this topic and for this video, I was surprised to realize that, yeah, he hasn't won a playoff game in years. And he's like touted for being able to not have any losing seasons, but this has been like a sustained period of playoff disappointment. So I think that he recognizes that, and ownership probably recognizes that. And now they need to take a potential swing on Lawrence should he be available. The draft maybe doesn't offer quarterbacks that they like, but the biggest thing is, I think, this is kind of a fresh start for Jacksonville with Coden coming in. You know, they're going to hire a new GM. They haven't hired one at the time of recording yet, but it sucks when someone comes in, they get it, the inherited quarterback from previous regime. It doesn't work out. They get their guy in, but then they get fired because of the not working out and then starting behind the eight ball. So that is a good reason why I think the Jaguars would want to make this trade. And for the Steelers, I think it makes a lot of sense. You got to take a swing. You got to try. Like, that division's so tough. If they had a more consistently good quarterback, they might be able to win it. So I can see it happening, but there was a report from Jacksonville saying that this is absolutely not going to happen. But who knows? Who knows if Jacksonville, they're saying that they're trying to position themselves better for a trade. They're trying to get something else. So if you're a Jaguars or Steelers fan, what do you think of the report that the Steelers are pursuing Trevor Lawrence? Good idea, bad idea, in between? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So finally, this sucks, but got to do it. Welcome to Miami Minute, where we cover my favorite team, the Miami Dolphins. It's really the Tyreek Hill minute at this point. Each week, I try to find a story for the Dolphins to cover that I'm not already covering on dolphinstalk.com. Check out my blogs there. And so, according to Bill Simmons, who was at the Super Bowl, who met with Tyreek, while Tyreek was on this, like, trying to smooth things over tour with everybody, trying to make fans like me feel comfortable enough to make a video saying that, like, the organization and Tyreek Hill have worked things out. There's not going to be a trade. Allegedly, he told, well, not him, somebody as a part of his team told Bill Simmons and his co-host that they should watch out for the Chargers as a potential trade destination for Tyreek Hill. I'm going to play the clip right now.
Looks like they hit the worthy pick, but the offensive line is, like, really rough. There's other teams coming. The Chargers are going to be better. We saw Tyreek Hill on Friday. I was trying to get him to come to the Pats. Wasn't happening, but there was a team.
Are you going to tell him what he said afterwards?
What did he say after?
I said, come to the Cowboys. And then he did the eyes thing. Like, I'm looking at you. I said, you may have to be our running back too. He's like, that's all right. I'm ready. So here we go. That is good news for Dallas.
Well, and then somebody that was with him was like, watch out for the Chargers, and walked off. I was like, what do you mean?
So there you have it. Do you think Bill Simmons is being honest here? I can't see why he wouldn't be, right? But I guess, like, let's look at it from the Chargers' point of view. It makes sense. The Chargers could get a very good receiver who is familiar playing in the AFC West. Obviously, he started his career with the Chiefs, to add with Lad McConkey, who was a really standout rookie from last season. And it would be probably a good move for the Chargers to get a wide receiver who is as talented as Tyreek Hill. However, would the Dolphins trade Tyreek Hill? And if they want to trade him, what can they expect to receive from the Chargers? I think minimally a first round pick, right? They traded a lot to get Tyreek Hill, but that was really during a different time where receivers were signing insane contracts and getting traded for a lot. And, you know, it was actually just like a time where a lot of players were getting traded. Deshaun Watson got traded like right before that as well. I don't think the Dolphins will recoup what they traded for Tyreek Hill. You know, he's older now. He's had a down year. He had 2 years where he was basically the best wide receiver in the league, best player according to the other players the year before, but a significant drop off this season. So I think, like, a first round pick, maybe a second round pick as well, if they are truly open to business. But I do think it makes sense for the Chargers' point of view as a potential landing spot for Tyreek Hill. He'd get to play the Chiefs twice a year. You know, that would probably mean a lot to him. And, you know, I am a little tired as a Dolphins fan of, like, covering all this stuff that all constantly happens with Tyreek Hill. And granted, this wasn't like his fault per se, but he probably should have asked, you know, his friends, his, you know, team to not leak potential trade destinations to a member of the media during Super Bowl week. So if you're a Dolphins fan, how are you feeling about this report that Tyreek Hill after we thought things were smoothed over, is still looking to be traded. And are you down for that? Do you want Tyreek Hill to be traded? Are you upset that he might be traded? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Wicked Good Sports podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed recording it. A little bit of a shorter episode this week, but Friday episodes, unless like I have a guest, they're probably going to be a little shorter, but I didn't want to leave you with nothing for the weekend. If you're not doing anything for Valentine's Day, I love that you could spend it with me talking about sports. So thank you so much for listening. Check out our main channel, Wicked Good Everything, for nerdy and pop culture news. Also, Those Fake Nerds, similar deal. And our Better Radio channel, which has our podcasts on it. Also, check out wickedgoodeverythingsports.com. I'm going to be making an effort to blog more. I just did a Trevor Lawrence blog where I went a little bit more into depth of why this would potentially make sense for the Steelers and the Jaguars to do that I did in this segment. But, it is heavily based on the blog that I wrote there. So if you liked it, please check that out. And of course, please check out my writing on dolphintalk.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.